My name is Alicia LaFerrier. If we haven't met, I'm the course materials department manager at the NDSU Bookstore. I just reached the 20-year mark last week, so it's been awesome being here. And as you'll find out, course materials are never the same. They can change from semester to semester how we do them and how we've done them over the past few years. And we're introducing something new again this fall, kind of an expansion of what we already were doing, that'll give students more visibility into their course materials. And this is something that not many other schools are doing in the region even. The U of M is doing something similar to what we'll talk about today with Bison Ready, but something that NDSU will be doing on top of that is we'll be including items that other campuses don't include in the flat rate option for students, and we'll get into more details on that in a little bit. So yeah, during today's session, we'll share information on Bison Ready, what it is, how it'll work for students and faculty. We'll talk about the importance of submitting course material information and how the NDSU Bookstore uses that information to provide course materials in the most efficient way possible. And then we'll also talk about other services offered by the bookstore. So let's start with the number one best practice in course materials, submitting information to the bookstore. If you haven't heard of HEOA, it's the Higher Education Opportunity Act. It was passed a long time ago, and it basically requires that students should have their book information when they register for classes, which we all know that can be very difficult for a variety of logistical reasons when you're scheduling classes as a department and finding faculty to assign to them and all that. So we opened the adoption submission system back in March for summer and fall to coincide with student registration for those semesters. And then spring registration typically opens in October. So that's when we'll start asking for spring 2026 information. Our adoption system that we have will remain the same as before. It sends out personalized links once we open it, about once a week, to faculty who haven't yet submitted information for a class. And we get daily updates from registration and records as far as who's assigned to a class. So if something hasn't been submitted for that class and a new faculty member is assigned to it, the email reminders will start going to that faculty member instead. That keeps pretty up to date, but if there's ever a time when somebody's getting a reminder email and it should go to somebody else, we can, as bookstore staff, alter and add a class to somebody else's profile if needed, if that change isn't coming through for some reason. Something to keep in mind with who gets assigned to a course in our adoption system is it's based on whoever is the primary instructor assigned in Campus Connection. So if nobody, like, somebody could be assigned to the course in Campus Connection, but if they're not officially like the primary instructor, nobody might be getting the reminders in that case. So that's something to keep in mind. So with those personalized links, we've set them up so that there's no login required, no password you need to remember. It has the list of your classes at that time that still need book information. No additional logins to remember. It gets you in pretty quick and easy, and that's where you can submit required items, optional items, non-book items, like we'll talk about later with art and supply and technology. It takes all of those, and you can also indicate if no materials will be needed for the next semester, and also if the course has been canceled. We try to make sure when the adoption season opens for the next semester that the course file is as clean as it will get, because we actually receive files from registration records year round, and we know a lot of classes can get put into that file that might not actually ever be offered for the next semester. So right before we open up the system for the next semester to take book information, we have our provider clean that up. And so hopefully the need to mark a bunch of classes as canceled that were never going to happen has been reduced by that. So and our goal every semester is to help NDSU get to 100% complete for book information. As we'll see when we talk later, students in Bison Ready or anytime inclusive access or any of our previous programs, the more information they have at this time of year to figure out where they want to be for the semester as far as books, the more information they have, the better. Helps them make the best decisions. And with our adoption system, it includes 4 quick videos. All of these videos are less than a minute and a half about various parts of submitting book information. These links also go out with the weekly reminders, so you don't have to write them down here or anything, but they also go out with that weekly reminder email. So that's helpful to have, and they're pretty thorough and go through every part. Getting started, that, once you get into the system, how to figure out what classes you want to assign materials to. You can copy from adoption history from past semesters. And then if there's items that don't have an ISBN or don't show up in our database in the system for some reason, you can add them manually. You can also add like non-book items manually without needing an ISBN if you're not sure what the ISBN number might be at that time. And then finally, how to submit and what happens next. So our adoption system also has some opportunities to find materials that you maybe haven't used before. It's got the search feature under the add new materials area. It also offers affordability scores in the adoption system for materials. And those affordability scores, a note on that would be that it's whatever the publisher put in our provider system. I know sometimes, like, faculty will contact us and say, hey, I want the paperback, but the one I put in is showing this really high price for the hardcover. As long as the ISBN is right, it's just based on whatever the publisher put in the system for that particular ISBN. So sometimes I know it can be higher than it maybe actually is for a print book, but still gives you an idea with the affordability scores where the item is compared to other books. And then we also have the faculty center network where you can search various subjects and get information on new course materials that may be out there that you haven't tried before. And then also, as you know, we have a lot of publisher representatives serving NDSU. And we work with all of them on a pretty regular basis. So we have contacts. If you need help getting a hold of somebody at a publisher, we can provide you what we have if needed. And then as far as exam and desk copies, usually we try to help you get a free copy from the publisher. If the NDSU bookstore orders one in, you could charge it to your department if that's all right, or you'd have to purchase on your own. So we always try the free routes as far as getting anyone exam and desk copies. But again, contact us if you're not hearing back from a publisher and need assistance getting a hold of someone. Let us know. Something new with our Bison Ready portal is the ability to do faculty sampling. And basically what this is the publisher gives you access to what would be kind of the desk copy within the Bison Ready portal. So there'll be options for that, but the publisher does have to allow the access for that, but that feature is there. And then last but not least, our NDSU subject librarians are a great resource. We also work with them on a regular basis with course material information. And then we've got a link there that'll take you right to the list on their website of all the subject librarians for each department and college. So they're also a great resource. All right, so what does the NDSU bookstore do with all this book information? We turn it into an awesome program known as Bison Ready. You may have been familiar with inclusive access in the past. That is basically expanded into Bison Ready for fall 2025. Students, from the student perspective, they have 3 options. They can be in at the complete level, which is 1 flat rate for all their required materials, art and supply kits, and digital materials. The middle level, that if they choose, they can step down to paying per item like in the past. That's what the select level is. And again, that would be print materials, digital, all those types of items. And then if they so choose, they can totally entirely opt out of Bison Ready. In the past, when we had inclusive access, when it was all like digital materials, we would see participation rates of upwards of 90% each semester. So we're hoping to see that with Bison Ready as well, somewhere between the complete and select level. Between one of those levels, we're thinking students should find a pretty good deal for whatever they need for that particular semester. So that is the 3 levels that students have to choose from. The opt-out date or deadline will remain the same as before. We match it with the NDSU add drop class deadline. So that will be Wednesday, September 3rd, and that's going out in the informational emails to students already. So that will remain the same as well. But yeah, basically that feature of the system will remain the same as before. We try to match that just to make, fewer deadlines for students to remember. And like I said too, they've been getting informational emails about those details since about August 1st. Back of that postcard, I have these postcards if you'd like, but we've got it on our website, and I know Faculty Senate was sending it out too as of yesterday. So, not much changes with Bison Ready for faculty. You still can adopt anything that you need for your course. If it's paid publisher content, free resources. Some campuses do limit, when they go to this type of program, what faculty can adopt, but we're not doing that. It's as before. We submitted an analysis of, previous adoptions. Everything was included when we did our analysis of what the flat rate should be for students. So that stays the same. We're not limiting any materials. And like I said before, with the flat rate level, that covers the required items. So students can still get the optional items. We'll still have those through our website. Those are still there to purchase with their student account. But we're not limiting any particular items or publishers or anything like that with Bison Ready. As I mentioned before, the adoption process stays the same that we just talked about with submitting through the personalized links. And then also with the digital materials, they will continue to be linked through the Blackboard course. Here is some additional resources for you and your students about Bison Ready. We've got our bookstore website updated. It has frequently asked questions about Bison Ready. We also have a quick 2-minute video on there that kind of explains Bison Ready and the flat rate versus the pay per item level options for students. And then we have the portal link, which we'll talk about in a bit too. That's something we want all faculty to post in their Blackboard course. And there's actually a tool already in Blackboard where you can do that. So we'll talk about that in a little bit and hopefully be able to demo it if we have time. And then last but not least, if students are having questions about Bison Ready items, right at the top of our Bison Ready page, there's a Start Here link with a tech support Qualtrics form where students can submit questions about what they're seeing or anything they might need to know about. That all those resources are on our Bison Ready page at the top there. So you might be wondering, what about inclusive access? What happened to that? Basically, that, like I said, that got rolled up into Bison Ready. Digital materials are still through the Blackboard course. Ebooks are linked as before. The homework items, the courseware items are linked as before. Bison Ready is it's still billed to student accounts like IA was. Um, a lot of times we get the question, well, what's the difference between an IA ebook and a regular ebook? Well, not much really. The content is still the same. It's just the price has been reduced a lot, oftentimes by the publisher. As I noted before, student participation has been really great the last few years when we had IA items that are linked to the Blackboard courses. So we're expecting to continue to see that and help students make the best choice for what they need for the semester. A big benefit of digital items linked to Blackboard courses was, like I said, the savings and the convenience of Blackboard access. It's right there. Students can get right in on the first day of class. As long as everything is all set up, they don't have to wait for books to come in. A lot of times we don't run into, the supply issues. That said, if you want to use like an older edition print item, we still support that. We'll get as many copies as we can. But one thing about digital is, we don't have to worry about where we're going to find the book as much. And digital items linked to Blackboard courses also is a really quick implementation when you think about it compared to other items. I know there was a couple classes in the past where we get the book information about a week before classes start, and a few clicks, and it's all set up and ready to go. Students don't have to wait for the books to come in or any of those things. So basically, I kind of became the digital part of Bison Ready. So like I said, Bison Ready includes more than just IA was. It includes those digital materials, print books. If digital is not working or does not work for the course in the best way, Bison Ready supports the print items, and students can come to the store and pick those up, and we can get those to them as well. It also includes pre-assembled art supply kits. So we have a lot of art, architecture, environmental design, all kinds of kits. Theater has kits. We put together kit lists for a lot of different classes that faculty have sent to us. So those are included in Bison Ready if they're required. And then Bison Ready gives more visibility into those free resources. The portal, as we'll see in a little bit, it will include, when we get adoptions, we check the library database for fall here especially, and we've been finding items that they have, and we've worked with them in the past on this as well, but it gives more visibility into searching and finding those free resources that we can give those items a link right from the portal and help students access them easier. And then they can see what, hey, this class, they're using materials, but they're not going to cost me anything. So that's also higher visibility with the Bison Ready portal. And then something that not a lot of campuses do is include the graduate students. So a lot of times this program only is for undergraduate students, but we are including all students. So undergraduate and graduate students, undergraduate degree seeking students, their flat rate is $325 for fall semester. The degree seeking graduate students, their flat rate is $55 for this semester. And then non-degree seeking students can still be a part of the program. They are just directed to the per item level, so that they don't, accidentally get charged a flat rate for maybe one or two classes. So we're hoping that kind of alleviates, full-time students versus part-time students and what they might need for this semester. But no matter where a student starts in the Bison Ready program, they have, like I said, through September 3rd to change their level if they've, whatever works best for that semester and what they need for course materials. Benefits of Bison Ready, it's the biggest one is predictable flat rate. As far as budgeting for students and parents, it's a predictable rate that they can start with and then look at what they need for the semester and determine if they want to stay at that flat rate or go to the per item level. So that's a huge benefit. And then the savings and convenience continue to increase with this type of program. There are some publishers who offer even more discounts from the IA items for a program like this. So there's been additional savings, and the convenience of having more materials accessible from one link in the Blackboard course is also a huge benefit. Digital materials offer a lot of study tools, accessibility tools. That's something we're all working on right now to get those where they need to be for the laws coming into place. And then, as I mentioned before, there was the flat rate and the per item level. So there's flexibility for students with fewer materials than maybe, a full-time student or depending on what their classes need for the semester. Like I said, we still have print books, we still do new and used books, and still do buyback at the bookstore. And then we also have course packs, which many of you might have used in the past. We work with NDSU Print and Copy Services on ones that are specific to NDSU, but if there's ever anything that you need copyright clearance for, LAD Custom Publishing helps us with that as far as we submit a bibliography to them and then they check whatever copyright clearance is needed, what the copyright might cost for a course pack with those items on it, and then they get back to us with a quote. There's no obligation to get a quote and just see what a course pack might be. We've had a nursing class consolidate a bunch of books together. They literally boxed up all the books, sent them to LAD, and then LAD came back with a quote as far as how much it would be to include certain chapters of each of those books into a course pack. So there's a few options there as well with course packs and custom items. And then Bison Ready also, as I mentioned, supports the low cost and free materials distribution. We have open educational resources on campus that a lot of faculty use. It's not necessarily that they're free, they're just freely, openly licensed for, different redistribution purposes. So you might have heard of OpenStax. A lot of faculty use OpenStax ebooks, and then sometimes those have print copies that we order in for students who still want a print copy. They're pretty low cost, like $40 or so, depending on the subject. We also have, like I said, the ebook options for some of those. But then if you have OER items that you're using, like I said, if you send us the link to those items, we can include that in a tile box within the Bison Ready portal and give students a quick way to access it right from that course materials link. And then also, Kim, our store director, and I also serve on the Student Government Open Resources Board, where they give out grants for putting together open educational resources. They meet a couple times a year, and they're just getting going for this next year already. So that'll be coming up where you can watch for information on that. And then, like I said before, we've been working with NDSU libraries over the years on course materials and seeing what they have that maybe we don't need to order, and we can let students know what they have. The subject librarians can help with, adoptions and items that might be out there. If there's items that they have on hand, they can do the course reserve. Or if you put in a request, they can have that on the course reserve for a certain amount of time for students or whatever parameters you want to have for student checkout of those items. And then they also have other faculty services available that they can help you with. And I've got a link up there for that. North Dakota had an OER conference a year or so ago, and we actually presented with library staff about affordable materials and things that they offer. So that was pretty fun to be able to do that with them, and we have a really good partnership and share the goal of affordability, and we're excited to keep working towards that goal. Then also, Vital Source is our main digital provider. And then we also work with them on our Bison Ready program. They also have some additional tools available. Bookshelf is basically what the Bison Ready portal is. That's where students will access their materials, the ebook ones, and things like that in their portal. Coach Me is a study tool that's out there that is available for some, but not all ebooks, where you can add practice questions to the ebooks or students can practice on their own. So that's a handy tool to have on those. And we're going through our list of items and trying to let faculty know where that's available as much as possible. They also have courseware tools and other ebook creation tools available. You can let us know if you have any other questions on those, if you want to give that a try for a future semester. As I mentioned before, Bison Ready includes the pre-assembled kits. And we also offer those in the store as well, along with other art and supply items that you might need for your courses, like carbonless notebooks and all those kinds of things. As always, let us know about those when you submit book information, and we can see what's available and what we can get for students and all the options out there. Calculators, we've got those in the store. We've got the clickers for point solutions. Is that still the correct name, Shar?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So we still have those devices. If you're using point solutions, we've got the clicker devices. If you'd rather students use those versus their phones in class for that, we've got those devices. And then Top Hat Classroom is something that we can deliver digitally as well through the Bison Ready ebook links if you are using that for your classes. And then recently in North Dakota and even around the country, there's a push for course marking, which kind of relates to students having information about their materials at the time of registration. And these are the designations that North Dakota has come up with. There was recently a policy 462, I think, just went into effect in August about affordable materials and in North Dakota in the NDUS system, I should say. So these are some different markings that students might see on courses within Campus Connection related to the materials. We put together a list for summer and sent that to registration records so that they could, mark accordingly and determine what the course needs. But the threshold for a low cost course as defined by the policy is less than $75, and I there's a very small number of summer classes especially that were over that threshold. We have a lot of classes, as I said, that use no materials, and of the ones that do, virtually all of them are lower than that $75 threshold. So pretty low cost materials at NDSU overall for students. And then Bison Ready will bring that affordability up even more when you average the cost across multiple classes with the flat rate. So, in getting into how to link to the Blackboard course, last Thursday, the LTI tool was updated from 1.1 to 1.3, and that affected like ebooks and some Pearson items. But that is all updated now. So we've been working on updating the link instructions. If you've linked an IA ebook to your class in the past, the process is pretty much the same. It's just the tool got renamed a little bit, and we'll hopefully be able to demo that here in a minute. But so the Bison Ready portal, when you're linking that to your course, it will provide access to your ebooks and some courseware items from the smaller publishers that are Vital Source delivered. It will provide access to those, but then it will also give students visibility into their book list. So it'll do two things now. In the past, it did show students their entire book list, but it gives more features now, basically, with that. So we've updated the IT knowledge base. If you go out to the knowledge base and just search Vital Source in the search tool, you'll bring up two sets of instructions. And hopefully we can demo those, ones for Ultra courses and ones for Blackboard Original courses. So I updated the pictures a little bit and the name of the tool, but like I said, not much changed. So that's available to start linking to classes. If you have homework items from like Cengage, McGraw, Wiley, Sage, all those bigger publishers, those will continue to be delivered as before, where the publisher gives you a link that you can integrate into your course. And if you're having trouble getting a hold of a publisher rep, let us know for that too. And basically, with the homework links like MindTap, Vantage, Connect, we just want to make sure that students don't encounter paywalls when they're clicking on those links. They just need to be integrated in a way that usually the publisher has to assist with on the back end of their system to make sure that students don't get prompted for payment when they've already paid theoretically through Bison Ready, and they don't get asked for a code. 90% of the homework items that we have through IA and now Bison Ready don't need a code to access. That's one of the awesome things about the whole setup is the codeless access. We don't have hundreds of paper codes floating around the bookstore anymore. It's all codeless for the most part and digital that right in the Blackboard course for students to access. So that's been one of the biggest benefits too. And a reason why a lot of campuses start doing IA is to just streamline that code process and get students first day access.
So when I talk to Sage or Cengage, and they provide here's your startup
Mhm.
sheet to post this for students. So I tell them, because last year I had some problems where most of the students got in just fine through the inclusive access,
Mhm.
but a couple hit paywalls because I don't know if they weren't following proper instructions or whatever.
Okay.
So I'm not sure how to avoid that because I don't really know what some students did versus why all the other ones got.
Sure. The question was if students, most students could get into those homework items and a couple couldn't. One thing we see a lot is a lot of times those students that can't get in are the ones that opted out. So at some point after that September 3rd deadline, the publishers go through, get the census report, and then everybody kind of has access at the beginning, up until that opt-out deadline, but once that deadline passes, then publishers start, cutting off access to items. So that's one thing we see a lot of. Otherwise, yeah, we could troubleshoot individual cases and students can come see us if they are having issues. We can see their opt-in, opt-out status so we can, yeah, help with that. And there are times too where we just send a snip to the publisher rep and say, "This student should be in there. They've been charged, they paid, get them back in." I know sometimes with top hat items, they kind of take down the paywall for a certain amount of time, and then once the deadline passes, they put it back up. So if a student, for some reason, never actually logged in to the system yet and never like made an account, they're not recognized as still being in it. So that sometimes happens too. We see. So yeah, we always try to encourage students, if you can do your homework when you want, but if you don't get in there by a certain date, you might get temporarily cut off. So go ahead.
Have you already sent that email to Blackboard link instructions? Because I can't find one.
Okay. Yes and no. In the past, we would send out individual emails to everybody who had IA items. Um, Being the LTI just got updated last week and we're just getting the instructions updated now, we were planning to send out actually more of a mass listserv with the links to the knowledge base. Got a couple minutes yet, so if we have time to demo, we will. But yeah, definitely we'll send out hopefully today yet a listserv with the two links, one for Ultra and one for original courses. Um, so yeah.
I think that there was one sent out, but it was from Instructional Design Center.
And then it said, don't use this, we have an update.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. I know in my demo courses too. I had the old 1.1 link, and it's like your link is broken. You need to to delete and redo. But it's like I said, it's basically the same process as before, as far as the tool and naming it, and yeah. So it's actually pretty quick and easy. But
Yeah, I was just, because I did it after that and got it all linked.
did okay. It's good to hear. Okay. Yeah, so it's yeah, we're working through that update. So for fall, this slide was made beginning of August. Yeah, early August. We're up to 85% complete for book information for fall. So we're still looking for about 500 to 600 sections of information that's out there. We do mark a lot of items or classes as no text, like the 899s, the 797s, all those classes. We do mark a lot of those, so that's after marking a lot of those as no text required. We're still looking for information. So if you're getting emails and for the adoption system and not sure what to do or how to get in, or looking for information on course materials you might want to use yet, let us know and we can help get everything submitted and get it through the systems. It takes about sometimes close to a week at this time of the semester to from the time the adoption is submitted to get it into the other systems and get it out to students. So it's quicker than ordering in items, but it can still take some time, especially this week before classes start. So if you need any assistance with that, let us know.
I have just a quick question. Add the Bison Ready portal link to your course. Was that the little card that was in there? It's just a general link for students to go buy their books? Is that?
That I did it have a QR code on the back, a postcard or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, I wonder if that was left over. We were at the graduate teaching assistant conference yesterday, and I passed out a lot of student cards. That would just be for students to get to our Bison Ready website. But we'll send out a listserv later today yet, hopefully with actual like the link instructions for posting in the Blackboard course.
Okay.
I know sometimes we'll send out the link instructions and uh, it might get confusing, like who has to post it, but yeah, it would be for faculty to post in their course. Um, Sometimes we get a question of whether the students need to do it, but
So this is something you're gonna send to me. I don't go look for it, copy paste.
correct, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, and then, and it would provide access if it's a ebook or a vital source delivered courseware, but then if you still have MindTap or anything, we can help with publisher links for those. And like I said before, information is student savings and one-stop shopping. That's our goal, is to be a one-stop shop for student information. We're here to help students with all those questions before you get your Blackboard course opened and even after. We're here to help students with any course material questions. The bookstore has a correct edition guarantee for students where, if something changes and they need a different book or instructor changed and the materials changed, we help students with that and get that figured out. So if there are any changes to your course materials, let us know as soon as you do, and we can get everything updated. because one of the biggest things for the bookstore is the ability for students to charge their student account, where they, don't need a credit card on a website or to have a credit card to purchase elsewhere. We've got the price comparison tool. The NDSU Bookstore offers a student account regardless of students' financial aid status. So that's something also to remember. Um,
There's a question on,
oh, sure. Go ahead.
if we already submitted book requirements, is there any way to change this knowing we have Bison Ready? How would we do this?
Yeah, you can contact us and we can, look at what class it is. It might be a quick changeover. It might take a little more time, but yeah, we can definitely look at what's needed. Yeah, and then as long as we haven't ordered print books in, it should hopefully be a quick switch over. And by quick, I mean it could be a couple days for all the information to get through our systems, but we can get everything updated as soon as possible and let students know what the changes are. Let's see.
One more, you special book to link. If there are two options, do you select the open book option or purchase options?
Oh, good question. If there is an open book button for the item, that means it's accessible from that link. If there's a purchase options link, or a compare and purchase button, one of those two, it might mean that the item isn't quite set up for access if it will be accessible from that link. So it could be a couple reasons why they might be seeing those different buttons in the portal. Mhm. So we'll do a quick run through of the portal, but like I said, we'll send out a link instruction email hopefully yet today on the listserv, and then it'll give more details than here. But basically, when you make the Bison Ready portal link in your course and set it up, when you click the link, it can take up to 3 hours for it to like update and to see that open book link and those access links. But basically, you'll see a portal with this on the side where my courses is your current items for the current semester. My library would be any items that you've used in the past that are Vital Source delivered. And then there's also, at the time the portal wasn't quite complete, but down below favorites, there would be an instructor analytics link as well, where you could see like student engagement with the Vital Source delivered items, like the ebooks or the courseware from the smaller publishers. So that's kind of what you'll see when you get in there. It'll be a big screen of your items showing up and your courses that you have for the semester. All right, and then any questions, we can help in person or phone, Zoom. We've got our resources up there. You can also like click on our website at the adoption search page and see, what has been submitted for your course. If you don't have that personalized link handy anymore, you can also go right to our website and just search for your class and see what's currently listed out there. But as I said before, we're here to help with your student questions so you can get ready for your class and we can handle any of those that we can. So we're here to help with that. Then we've got our contact information here. So, um, but yeah, I'm available for questions if there's any others or after the session in the bookstore. We're open today. What is today? Tuesday. We're open until 4 today, 7:30 to 5, Wednesday through Friday throughout the weekend, and then we'll be back to 8 to 5 next week. So you have a question? Okay,
Back to the previous question,
sure.
I'm wondering how, which option does she pick? Like, so maybe clarifying that again.
Okay.
Select the open book option or purchase options.
It would kind of depend on the setup in the back end, I guess is the best answer I could give at the moment. Because if it says open book, that typically means it's an ebook, and then students or faculty can launch and get to the ebook right from that link. But sometimes when it says purchase options, that might mean maybe it's an optional item, so it's not covered in the Bison Ready flat rate. It could be, yeah, it could be an item that's not quite set up yet, where we've gotten the adoption and it's gotten into one of our systems, but I haven't been able to set it up in the Bison Ready system for access. It could be just like a in between the setup process steps, basically. But yeah, if they want to email me and I can, or send a message to our bookstore chat on our website, we can look into the exact class. And because it's usually not for the same item, those two buttons, it's either, yeah, one or the other, depending on where the setup is at and the type of item. All right.
The three levels that students get, so they pay $350 and that covers everything for the classes, basically.
Yep.
After 4 classes or 5 classes, whatever they're in, that's the flat for.
Yep.
Second option was they can kind of pick and choose then.
Yep.
There's some classes that aren't using a book, so they could.
Yep, because we've been more intentional about listing no text required in that Bison Ready portal where that wasn't there before, so that students can see like, okay, this class is actually like officially, I mean, it's always been on our website, our bookstore website, but it'll also be in the Bison Ready portal that it's no text required, and so they can see as long as we've heard from faculty what's being used. Yeah. So yeah, that 325, it would include any required print books, the digital items that are required, the art and supply kits, if they're pre-assembled ones that we're aware of, all varieties of items, all the required materials.
Opt out, then that would be opting out of all their books or just they can.
A couple ways, yeah, they could go from the flat rate level down to the per item level, so kind of opting out of the flat rate and going to the per item level, or they could totally opt out of everything if they want. But as we know, like especially with the homework items, a lot of times, a lot of the semesters, the opt out deadline comes and somebody opted out of the homework, and then if we sometimes it's easier to get them back in depending on the item, and if it's going to take a lot of time to get them back in, sometimes students do have to go directly to the publisher and pay the full price. So that's something students want to keep an eye out for. The IA pricing is reduced. It's reduced from what the publisher should be offering on their website. Um, so that yeah, they give bigger discounts and things like that for the convenience of getting it all set up in one spot. So it's almost always the cheapest, and there's a couple items where we offer them digitally and set them up just, for convenience of access. But if it's like a couple bucks more than the item is on the publisher's website direct, we'll put a disclaimer in there and say, hey, this option or this item is available here. Um, you could get it maybe for a couple bucks cheaper directly from the publisher, but we're offering it here so that you can charge it to your student account for convenience and not have to use a credit card or, whatever we're just trying to make it convenient. So if I think of a couple items out of hundreds where our price ends up being a couple dollars more, but we'll put a disclaimer there and let students know. And still 80-90% of the time students will just stay and just put it on their account, and they like the convenience of that option. So
So we're talking to students now, we should be talking about inclusive access or anything, we should just say Bison Ready is where you get your books. And you should,
yep.
you get an email from you guys about Bison Ready,
Yep.
use that term, inclusive access.
Yeah, yep, I kind of became the digital side of Bison Ready, basically, is I guess the easiest way to compare the two. So yeah. All right. Thank you. And if you have any other questions, come see us this week and we can help you out.